the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains.
Coming to you straight from San Diego, California. Let's welcome our host, April Mahoney.
Welcome back to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. You know where you are. You are at the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are what? Never dull. Today, our guest is Andrea Cinnamond. That's my favorite spice. Oh, yes. It helps everything from digestion to spicing up your yams. She is a creative. She's a scientist. She's a woman in business that helps small businesses reinvent themselves, branch out, explore their creativity, and she bridges these two great mediums together to really help people become successful. She's going to tell us more about that. She does some wonderful things. I mean, she knits, she crafts. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And what it's like living in Boston. You know, Boston is a very historical state, city in Massachusetts. Got a lot of history. And there's a lot of stuff going on. So we want to test the climate and the pulse and see what's going on and what people should do as they're reinventing their business online, as well as what they're taking back into the workplace. So help me welcome her to the Edge, Andrea Cinnamond. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the Edge.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your story. Now, because scientists are very analytical, very fact-based, okay? By the book. They question everything, but it's fact. There's no margin for foo-foo or error or anything like that. But then also, you are a very strong creative. Mm-hmm. How do you marry the two?
Well, actually, science is sort of a method of inquiry, right? So there's never something isn't wrong until you test it. And so, there's never a bad experiment. There's never really a failed experiment, unless you throw it on the floor or something. But, even if you don't get the answer you wanted, it's like, oh, well, maybe that's not true. So it's a method of inquiry. But it's steps. It's very logical steps. And I equate it. I'm a big person of, can't even think of the word now. Comparison. So it's like baking a cake. You don't ice the cake before it's baked. And so science has a series of steps that need to be done in a particular order. And so it's very regimented. In order to compare results, it has to be the same every time. And so that doesn't seem that creative. But woven within it is creativity. You can always find a way to sort of weave something in there. So that's what I try to do with online business is you take these steps, like you have a website and you have a free offer and then you have an opt-in and, so there's steps that have to be taken, but you can weave creativity through that. And so there's, logicalness. The other thing a little bit different than from science and online businesses, I always like to start with the results. What are the results that someone wants to get in their business?
Right.
Like who, what are you giving them? What do you want to get from them? And work backwards. So I do a lot of quizzes. And I always say, what is the result you want? And then we'll design the questions to try to segment those people into groups or get the information that's useful for you instead of starting from the front. So I'm always about what is the result? And then let's build something to support you getting to that result. So that's a big thing. I'm always asking, what's the result? I find myself saying that.
Great, because that's what my mentor always taught me, is see the end result.
Yep.
And create like a snapshot in your mind, as if it's already a memory.
Yep.
That you can refer to, and in that way, the next step is that you look at your resources.
Yep.
How can I get there? Who's going to get me there? Who's going to be on my team? What do I need? How much money do I need? Where could that come from? And then lastly, is the actual revenue itself, because then the money can't do anything but fall right in your pockets, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can't be that straightforward. And what I find I've done from my experience, if I could go back and start again, I'd be doing it a lot differently. I started this, I had young children. I fell into the I became a coach first, actually. I was watching What Not to Wear, and this woman was becoming a coach. This is like 11 years ago now.
I remember that.
She was going to be a coach, and I thought, oh, coach, what a silly thing that is. And then that was January 3rd, and by the end of that month, I was in coaching school. I'd done research. It just came to me, and I became a coach. Well, I had 3 kids under 3 by that point, and the coaching wasn't easy with all those kids. So I fell into the world of the technical world and found all this wonderful online technology. And I just kept exploring it, because now you can run multi 6-figure businesses with like less than $500 a month. You can be running these big businesses. Like, they don't have to be fancy. I've got some point of views about some of the tools that are out there and what people kind of fall into, but I help clients run multi 6-figure businesses with minimal amount of technology outlay, like the cost of the stuff to support it.
Right. Well, people are, and shout out to web designers before you get all crunchy, but people really aren't going to websites like they used to. They're going to landing pages. Yep. They want the critical 6. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Quick and slick. They're not going to be traveling through 4 or 5 pages and reading every single testimonial. They want the facts. And they're relying heavily on social media as their calling card, because everything is happening in real time. Do you find that to be true?
Oh, absolutely. When I see, my analogy, I'm an analogy person. My analogy, if someone talks about, like, on a website, like the old classic coaching website, like, what is coaching? Like, you just got to get rid of those pages, because it's like a contractor doesn't talk about the hammer he uses to build your house, right? Coaching is a tool for an outcome. People are looking for the outcome. They want to get help in their business. They want to have help training their dog. They want to have help, doing things. They want to have the outcome. They don't really care how you do it. And like my car, I live in Boston. It gets cold. I take my car into the dealer and I say, I want it winterized. I don't even care what they do. I just know that they know my car.
Now, wait.
And they winterize my car. But
let me back up. Let me back up a minute. What is winterizing a car? Girl, I live in California. I don't know nothing about that.
Well, you have the grade of oil changes, because actually oil gets thin. They change the grade of oil.
Okay.
And make it thinner. And sometimes there's something to do with tire pressure. I think you need lower tire pressure or higher tire pressure. There's a few things. But like I said, I don't care what they do. I just know they know my car.
Right.
They know Boston. But they don't need to tell me the tools they're going to use. And so when I see these old coaching sites with what is coaching? Is coaching for you? Like all this stuff, it's like, that's the tool. And so I love a really good one-page website, like these landing page style. Like, get enough information, have them sign up, talk to them directly, know their pain, know the outcome they want. So absolutely, I really believe that people need to self-identify that you might be someone to help them. And you can do that pretty quickly.
Right.
Pretty quickly. You don't need these elaborate big websites anymore. Absolutely.
Andrea, talk to my brains about selling to value, because they don't understand. Everything is different now. All of these websites that you had, the blueprint that you had, your business model that you had, everybody, you need to go back and revisit all of that, because now it is a different need. What are they looking for outside of the, bottom line, making money? But what is it that customers actually need? How do you talk to your clients about catering and being creative and working with their clients to really, achieve success? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's sort of this saying, like, an inch deep and a mile wide, right? Or an inch wide and a mile deep, right? And it's about identifying that niche, identifying what it is you do and who you work with, and then being really deep with it, being an expert. You can't be an expert if you're doing like everything. And so really, and I know lots of people struggle with finding a niche, finding that crevice, finding that mile deep place to be, because they think they have this feeling that they're limiting themselves when they pick a niche and they pick a group of people to work with. And so, like, you know, for instance, something like, I mean, I'm going to use the ubiquitous thing that people use is weight loss. But it's not just weight loss anymore. It can be weight loss after an injury. It can be weight loss after pregnancy. It can be a weight loss after, like, people that niche down can really get the right clients, don't even have to really wonder, is she going to help me? Because the niche is so narrow and you know a lot about it. And so you get clients much more easily because they self-identify. You don't even have to convince them, right? You have to convince people when they go, well, I don't really know if you can help me. And my analogy to this is going into Marshall's or TJ Maxx, right? You can go in with an idea like, I'm looking for a pillowcase or I'm looking for kids' shoes. But when you go to Marshall's or TJ Maxx, you don't really know what you're going to find, right? Because it's so, but if I go into the Apple store, I know I'm going to see a Mac or a phone and I'm going to buy it, or I'm going to get information and I'm going to leave. Like, I know what I'm getting there. And that's the same when people niche, is that you know what you're getting. They can express their expertise. They can get invited to speak at things because, again, they're an expert now. You can't be an expert if you're trying to do too many things. And so it's about this finding that spot that you can really help people, fill up your clientele because they're all wanting the same thing. You speak to that result. You can do other work outside of that, but really you want people to identify.
Well, people are afraid to niche down. You know, I learned that in marketing a long time ago. They want to throw everything against the wall. They want to have multiple revenue streams of income, which makes sense, but it all needs to, again, make sense. You know, you can't be selling widgets over here and flowers over here and cookies over here and computer software over there. It just doesn't gel. As far as their branding, I work with clients, if they do have multiple businesses, to really create something that is streamlined and that there is a synergy, that there's a similar look and feel, so people can recognize you when they see you. They know that that is your brand. I mean, you know, when you see this, what do you think of? Me. When you see this, what do you think of? Me. It's all about product placement too. Having yourself visible often and regularly. Everyone, oh, well, you have too many posts. You can never have too many posts. Everyone is not online on the same platform at the same time. Now, also, I want to talk to you a little bit about marketing, and building your business online, because the way that you talk to your Facebook family is not the way that you talk to the millennials on Instagram, or the business professional on LinkedIn, or the angry person that's on Twitter. You know, you have to have a different conversation and a little different structure and marketing packet for each one of these platforms. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, they're certainly different, and some platforms don't suit some people. It's hard. I believe more in identifying the one or two platforms that are your ideal. I'm a Facebook fan. You'll find me on Facebook a lot. You'll see me in my art and my work and my kids and everything. I love Facebook, but I get nervous about using it 100% for business, because you're really limiting people who don't want to be in a Facebook group. Like, if you're only advertising on Facebook, I find it sort of limiting. You're also putting all your eggs in a basket that's not yours, right? They call that sharecropping. You're using someone else's tool at the mercy, and people get shut down. Like, you do something and you get shut down, and there goes your business. So I believe in picking the social media outlets that are your best, but then repurpose to the others. And you can delegate that repurposing, like, because you can't focus on 10 things at once. So pick the ones that you want to be in, repurpose to the other ones, and delegate that out. I had a thought go through my head there, and it's gone now. You can't be everywhere.
Right. And again, you have to be able to invest in the areas where you're weak. You can't do everything. You know, I see people that try to create a web page, and you've got 5 different fonts, all different colors. Big bolding, this, that. I know you want to draw attention. If they're on your page, believe me, they're paying attention. You have people that say, oh, I've got to have my online program ready before I can do this. It's about the talk up. Okay, it's about the conversation. If people don't know, like, and trust you and have been introduced to you, believe and trust. They're not going to run to your online program and give you $199 or $200 and you have no receipts. You have, as we say, no street credibility. Okay,
Yep.
so you have to have that built into it. If you have a book, how could you be an author and give your book away all the time?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you wrote that book to be a published author and to make money. Sell the book. If people have a buy-in, they make an investment, they want to, you know, they're going to want to work with you even more. Would you agree, Andrea?
Absolutely. And you can add value to that book. You can even have like a little webinar that goes with it to explain it a little bit more. Because what I find sometimes, is that you're never sure you're interpreting it right? So if you get a little bit more value, you just go, oh, I get this now.
Right.
Yeah, so no, absolutely. The other thing with social media is the thought just occurred to me again, it came back to me, is that people build, you know, these big followings in Facebook, right? I have a couple clients that have these big followings in Facebook. And now after a few years, I say to them, you've got to monetize it. You've got to convert them into your programs. And they don't want to convert because they got used to you being there free. Suzanne Evans is a big coach now. You know, she's been around for a long time, but I knew her in her earlier days. And I bought a program from her. And I got 20 minutes with her on the phone. If you were an early adopter, you got, 20 minutes on the phone with her. And I can remember her telling me, and this is one of the things I'd like to go back and redo if I could redo anything. She said, always have something to sell. So your book, and then you can add on a webinar to it and make it be $49, right? You get the book and a webinar and maybe a Zoom call to discuss it once a month or something. Like you want to add that value. So it's not just the book, right?
Right.
Because there's a ton of shelf help. There's a ton of information. Information's not lacking. It's the integration. And I'm pretty well read, like I read a lot of things. And so what I love to do is I love to synthesize from these different ideas that I have and then synthesize sort of a new idea from that. And so that's where it's not just information anymore, but it's like been synthesized from all these different places.
Right.
And I come up with sort of novel things. So that's, what I suggest to people is, find your spot.
Right. And I want to go back to something that you said. Folks collect folks on social media like tokens. For what?
Yep.
If you are not interacting, if you're not liking, if you're not commenting, if you're not viewing, if of any of that, why are you just sitting there?
Yep. Yeah.
And what is the value? Because you need that number. That does not build your algorithm. That does not put money in your pocket. If anything, is dangerous because you got people watching you. There's, for what? What are they watching you for?
Right.
They just like tokens. And I don't get it. If we're friends on LinkedIn, we don't necessarily have to be friends on Twitter and Facebook. No. I mean, I'm looking for a new audience. I'm looking for a new crowd. Now, I'm not going to unfriend nobody. I like you. I love you. But again, that's just not what we're looking for. Right. Social media is, and also it is a place to be social. It is not a place to, I don't know. I guess social media is a place for people to vent their frustrations, because today I went through my news feed and I saw some of the strangest things. And I know people are passionate about their position, but if you're in business, know that other people are watching, they're listening to your point of view. You could lose a lot of customers, a lot of clients. You could lose your job. Look at all these people, posting some crazy stuff. You getting fired like that, okay? They let you go. I don't care if you're a police officer, if you're a teacher, you're doing some stupid stuff. So what are you trying to do? What are you trying to portray? You need to be very careful about that in this day of social media. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I try to keep mine light. I try to keep it fun. My mother's on it. It keeps me connected with my friends. Like I keep that in perspective. I do share things that I think, but I don't get too down on there. But yeah, it's these people collect these, these groups like, oh, I got 5,000 members, in my Facebook group or whatever. but like not one of them will buy your $10 program or your $50 program. And so that conversion is really hard.
Right.
To run a few giveaways, you know, those big giveaways with 50 people or, you know, telesummits and things like that. And we requested a certain email list size, but we didn't actually include the social media stuff. Number one, social media doesn't show everything to anybody anymore. And it's not as valuable as converting them into your email list. So I always think of try to convert people with a free offer. You know, you get that group, have a free offer in there once in a while to try to convert those ideal people onto your mailing list. Yeah.
You know, conversion, that means doing business. That could be relationship capital. That could be a great contact. That could be a great resource. You know, so all of that's very important. And because you are, don't overpromise and underdeliver is one of my things that bugs me. Don't tell me that, oh, okay, well, I've got a million people that follow my podcast. Number one, you a million lie. Number two, that does not mean that everyone is going to listen to every one of your episodes. So don't sell it that way. Yeah. Create your package that it is realistic, and that when people touch it and they say, oh, okay, give them an opportunity to revisit, give them a lot of rotation. Let me ask you a question, because I don't do any of the summits. So when people do these summits and they request a certain size, email size, what benefit is that to the person that participates? Are they sharing these emails? Are they sharing this? What is that about?
Yeah. I mean, I think the popularity of this is going down. I've been, you know, I helped a couple big coaches run, you know, one that's now 11 years old. It's now been traded off to somebody else, but I, you know, used to run it and set it up for a couple of my clients. And yeah, they requested a certain email size, but actually they never asked, you know, it would have been better to ask, like, what is your open rate? How many people of this list are actually involved? Because you could have an old dead list.
Right.
And still have 4 people open it. So we always laughed at that in a sense, like, oh, but no one ever asked the hard question, like how many people actually open the emails. And so there was always that discrepancy, right? Of what is your list size? How active are you? What is your open rate? So they never asked that. And so, you know, some people can have a smaller list and have an 80% open rate because people want to hear what they say, but they only have 1,000 people. So they might have more people actually opening emails than someone with a 5,000 person list.
Right.
So again, list size, it's really, if you're niching, you'll automatically have a smaller list size because, right, you're in this niche, but then they want to hear from you. So if you're doing it right, they hang off every word you say. They look at the resources you share, the hints, the stories, like, so you can have a lot. So the whole list of email list size, to me, from the other side is kind of, you know,
right.
We measure
that's what people tell me all the time. Oh, well, you know, I've been on a podcast and they have 1 million listeners. Yeah, right. Sure they do. Okay. I don't even try to go there because you know what? I don't want 1 million followers. Right. I want 100,000. I want 100,000 listeners, people that are going to actively be engaged, that are going to click on, that are going to comment, that are going to share. That's where I find the value. You said something, I think earlier. Let me make sure if I'm correct about this. You said that you had your children later in life.
Yes.
So
I you know, it's not I didn't want them. It's just I didn't think the opportunity. I was married. It just didn't come up. And then I left. I was divorced and I came back. And so I had my first daughter. I had my daughter at 45. And then I had twins after that.
Wow.
And so, you know, perfectly healthy, you know, like I was born to do this. But yeah, so that's why I shifted from science, because I didn't want to, working in science, I worked in all the pharmaceutical companies in Boston. And so I never knew what time I was getting out. And I just, the thought of having, like, it wasn't a 9-to-5 job. And I worked from home basically, but then visited all these drug companies and hospitals, Harvard Medical School, Boston University Medical School. So I never knew what time I was coming home. And I just thought of having these 3 kids and trying to like work I deserved time off. Right. But what I then realized that I wanted to do something with this, my energy and my creativity. And that's when I discovered this online world that I could do from home.
Right. I want you to speak to the person that is in that same space, you know, that is in that same space. they can be an entrepreneur, they can be at home, but they still need to create work-life balance. How do you incorporate that?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's hard. You know, my kids are older now. My daughter's 15 and my twins are 13. They had their birthdays last week. It was tough from the beginning. You know, I was tired. I'd be working at night when they were asleep, and, you know, they'd be up in the middle of the night. But I get really passionate about the fact that there are lots of opportunities online for people, women. I mostly work with women. I've worked with men as well, but there's lots of opportunity there if you, you know, don't get your head sort of thinking like, why me? Like, you need to sort of plunge ahead. And that's where I help people with the tools. Like I try to shorten, like, what do you need? I help them build it. I help them getting it working so that they stay in motion. And they, you know, you almost sort of like NLP, you know, I do neurolinguistic programming stuff. It's I make things into steps. So they don't seem like, oh, what am I doing? It's like, oh, it's just a step. I'm just writing this. I'm just writing this. I'm just writing this. And there's just lots of opportunity. I talk to people all the time about building an online business that one woman was pregnant. She was a health person. She had a degree in nutrition. And I, you know, built her a business in about an hour. You know, I said, you could have this course. And because you have this new baby, you don't have to do it live. You could have it be modules, but you could have a live version, a live meeting every week that you just showed up to and help people answer questions. So there was a live component, but you could deliver most of the content through a delivery system. And you could have this great business. And then when your child is older and starting to go to school, you can start doing more live things because you've got these people getting great results. Like, you know, so I never heard back from her. I mean, I know it's a big step, but you know, we built this whole thing out. It was, you know.
Well, I mean, she took it all in, and she'll be back.
Yeah.
You know, she'll be back because she definitely needs your guidance and your instruction. Tell us about some of the fun, creative things you do. You said you crochet. I posted one of your videos that you did a scrapbook. I love to scrapbook, but crafting can be expensive too.
Yes, my husband, you know, he's very patient with me, and he's like, oh, another box of stuff is here for you. I just have a shoe thing. Years ago, and my ex-husband, we were at Nordstrom's. I used to live in Australia. We came back to the US and we're at Nordstrom's, and he's like, oh, yes, that pair of black shoes is different than your other 15 pairs of black shoes. So I always remembered that about him, that he was very patient with me and my shoes. And my husband's very patient with me with my art. But I just love the creativity, and I got into YouTube, and there are some amazing people there. So I got into making these junk journals, and so I hang embellishments off them, and they're printed and glued and hand sewn. Like, I got into actually bookmaking. I just really love this stuff. And so I'm an ex-sewer. I used to make all my clothes. When I worked for a living, I had beautiful two-piece suits, like the dress with the coat over it. Like, I love to sew all these Vogue patterns and things, but now my life doesn't really, you know, lend itself to that. So I always need a creative outlet. Like, I'm a great baker. I really like it. And so, like, today I'm making a cover for something, and I'm printing things on my printer, and I tea-dye paper.
You had said something to me that just really kind of stuck and resonated with me when we spoke. You said, I am the lover of beautiful things.
That's my number one value. When I did my values at one point, I thought it was learning. But learning is actually a jail. And I found that sort of the jail of learning, because I fell into the trap that I felt like there was always more to learn, and that I never knew enough. And that was a real trap. And that's what I help my clients with, is this trap of like, why me? I don't know enough. It's like, you absolutely do. If you're interested in what you want to do in a business, you know more than they do. And really, what most people I find online, what they really want to be part of is a community. You know, like, I'm in a community of parents that went to the same school with my kids, but they weren't really my people. My people are all over the web who love me and come to me, and the opening up to the web. So I believe that people want community. They want people doing the same things as them, doing it together, where you cry together, you laugh together, you learn together. I'm just, you know, all about the other day I was baking a cake for my kid's birthday, and I was doing this layer cake. And I read online, I watched this video, and there's these cake bands. I've baked cakes for 100 years. You get these cake bands, and you get them wet, and you put them around the round cake pans.
Right.
And it cools the edge, and you get flat cakes. And I thought, oh, I wonder if that's true. So I bought these cake bands. I actually bought a set from my best friend as well, because she bakes. And these were the flattest cakes I've ever seen. And I posted on Facebook. So if you go look at my Facebook stream, you'll see my cakes. Well, then a very good friend of mine who's also a baker said, oh, I've been using those for 20 years. I'm like, well, tell me your other tricks. Like, because if you knew that, like, I've been baking forever and I'd never heard of them. These were the flattest top cakes, because usually I have to cut like half the cake off to make a layer cake.
Right.
So, so I used to think learning was my number one value, but it turns out it's beauty. I love beautiful systems. I love beautiful websites. I love beautiful things that work all the time. As a solopreneur, I don't have time to troubleshoot things all the time. You as an owner don't have time to see that things aren't working. And so I really want things to be beautiful. I want the opt-in to be beautiful to your free offer. I want your free offer to be delivered. I want your free offer to be beautiful. Like I just want everything, because again, I have a blog on my website, and I actually saw someone else talking about the other day that you have 0.5 of a second for people to like your website or like a document, and they don't know what the words are on it yet, but they know they're going to like it more because they like the initial color and the way it's laid out.
Yeah.
Right.
And with you being very artistic and creative, that's an extra added value, added service that you provide. You have just been a wealth of information, Andrea. Thank you so much for being here on the edge with me and my brains. You've given us a lot to think about, a lot to chew on and digest.
Yeah.
And it's very, very important that, again, you stay creative, that you stay innovative, brains, that you stay at the top of your game, because believe me, there's somebody that's chasing you right on your heels. And there's always something new. As they say, there's nothing new under the sun. Well, in this world, you know, there's a whole lot of new stuff that's coming up with innovation. And she's got it because she's a scientist too. So tell my brains how to get in contact with you, beautiful.
Yeah, so my website is andreacinnamond.com. So it's cinnamon with a D on the end. So andreacinnamond.com. And you'll find me there. And on Facebook, I think it's andrea.cinnamond. And you'll find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. You'll see some of my art there. Come and follow me. Share your questions. Tell me what you're up to. And, there's lots of things. I'm also like a quiz master. I love the power of a quiz. And so, I do lots of things. So, reach out and see if there's something I can do to help you.
That's why I bring you the best and the brightest right over there, brains. Really, because I want you to have options. I want you to know what's going on. Just because people are at home, don't think that they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. They're raising kids in their 40s. They're painting, they're cooking, and they are designing great systems just for you and I. Again, thank you so much. Andrea, please come back and keep us informed as to what's going on. Maybe you're going to have a beautiful picture book that's going to come out. I'd love to see some of your artwork. Maybe you'll host a class for us on knitting, because that's coming back now. It
is. I love the meditative. I'm actually a process knitter, not a product knitter. So I love the meditativeness of knitting.
Really? Well, you have to come and talk to me about that. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. So brains, I need you to go and raise the roof on those numbers, okay? I need everybody and your mother to sign up. We've got, almost 70,000 people that have tuned in, but I'm not seeing 70,000 followers. And that's important. It adds to my street cred. You know what's going on here on the edge. You keep coming back. You're loving on me, and I'm loving on you. So until we meet again, take care of yourself. Get your business straight. Don't be that extrovert all the time. Sometimes branch out and find somebody like my guest here, Andrea, that is going to help you bring out that creativity. Thank you so much, Precious. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.